sea green eyes and long blonde hair, cool smooth smile and didn't have care. I don't know why, but you on my way. I was scared to death, but I was ready to play. Love at first sight sets the spirit free. I felt the dark clouds part, I heard the angels sing. My heart caught fire and my soul can fly. That's when I knew I had to make her mine. Two days passed before I made that call.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? Danielle, glad to see that you're with us today. This is the special Sunday edition of Mickey in the Middle. And today we're going to be talking about, well, stuff that's going on in our country that's just bothering the heck out of me, right? So what happened is Tuesday I was up in Illinois, and then my plane got delayed out of Illinois, and then I got delayed out of Dallas. I didn't get back here in time to do the show. So now we're going to do a special show. I might not be broadcasting on Tuesdays and Thursdays on a regular basis, so I might have to change the website and the Facebook page that says, hey, look here, we're just going to do special editions of Mickey in the Middle. This is the Sunday special edition. Downstairs, I've got the football game on. They've got a new league in the United States of America, so that's something else other than the NFL. So that's on the TV downstairs. I decided to pop up here, talk to you guys for just a little bit about something that's near and dear to my heart, socialism. It's near and dear to my heart because I just don't believe in it, and they've kind of changed the definition of the way things are, and somebody else is redefining socialism as we know it in our society today. So I'm going to flip on this little device right here, which is basically my Bluetooth for my phone, so that I can.
Power on.
Hey, there we go. High. Looks like we're going to be good to go. So. All right, hey John Boyce, how you doing? Can you hear me this week? So, John Boyce, just want to say hey a lot. I appreciate it. You gave me a message last time and said I couldn't hear you because there was some music streaming. Hopefully, we've got that all straightened up. So, just wanted to talk to you real quick about socialism and the two reasons that socialism in America is being redefined. And when I say it's being redefined, a lot of Americans are thinking that socialism is, or social democracy, or democracy socialization, or something like that, that it's a thing, and it's a real thing. Hey, thanks a lot for the thumbs up, John. Oh, by the way, I'm on a 20-second delay here, so whenever I say something, it might not come out the exact way that we want it to come out. So anyway, so socialism is being redefined in America. And it's not necessarily a bad thing that it's being redefined. It's just being redefined. But first I want to, the definition of socialism is for the government to control the means of production. That's what it is. If you look it up in old dictionaries, old encyclopedias, old everything, socialism is the government controlling the means of production. And what that means is that they're going to try to control who does what and how they're going to do it in order to make the infrastructure of a country operate better. And that sounds fantastic, right? Doesn't everybody want to work for the government, right? But if the government's going to hire everybody and they're going to control the means of production, then that means that they're only going to have certain jobs that they want filled so that production can be controlled by them. And they're going to say what's going to be built, how it's going to be built, where it's going to be built, why it's going to be built, which dictates the jobs that you can have. So everybody, most of the people want to go out and want to go get a good job. So now it's going to be limited to the job that the government offers. If you want to be innovative and you want to start your own thing, then you're going to have to go to the government. You're going to have to ask the government, hey, I would like to do this. And what happens if the government says no? That means that you're no longer free to produce on your own. That means it's all up to the government to determine what you can and cannot do, because if they control the means of production, that limits the opportunities for everyday human beings to go out there and go do whatever they want. So they've come up with this new thing called democratic socialism. And I think what they mean is that they want to vote to become more socialist, which is cool. I mean, right? So, but I think that that's going to be limited based on two things, right? Flat screen, 100-inch flat screen, 8,000K television sets, and boob jobs. And when I say that is, let's talk about the Green New Deal that they came up with the other day, right? So the whole idea behind the new Green Deal is the government's only going to control a portion of our system in America. So what they want to control is they want to control energy. They want to control transportation. They want to control the petroleum industry. They want to control housing. They want to control, well, just about everything that is actually an infrastructure of the United States of America, right? They want to control medicine. They want to control education. They want to control the borders. Well, actually, they don't want to control the borders. They want it to be open for everybody. But what they want to do is they want to say, okay, we want to control these sectors of the economy. And as soon as they control those sectors of the economy, that's almost the entire economy. So that means that in order to get anything out of those sectors of economy, that means that we are going to have to provide them with the workforce in order to do that. We're going to have to provide them with the taxes of doing that. And the amazing thing about that is I just don't think that we're going to be able to do it, because I don't think we're going to be able to produce enough in order to do this in 10 years. So the thing that pissed me off is she wants to get rid of all my steaks, right? So we're talking about AOC. I don't know what her name is, but I know it's because I don't want to insult her. What I want to do is I want to get her name right, but I just can't get it right in my brain. So anyway, what we're talking about is socialism and why it can't work. It just can't work. The reason is because if they control that much of the economy, that means that somebody's going to have to pay for that economy. So the question is who is going to pay for that economy if they're paying for everything that's in the economy? That means that they have to control the money in, they have to control the money out, they have to control the people that are going to work. And what happens if you don't want to work in a factory that's in the energy industry? See, right now in America, you have a whole bunch of options, you have a whole bunch of choices, you have a whole bunch of choices that you can have. Take cell phones, for example, right? You don't have to have an iPhone, right? You can go out and get a ton of other different telephones. But what happens if you wanted to invent a new telephone? What happens if you wanted to say, hey, look here, we want to get rid of these things and we want to make it shaped like this and see if people will buy it? Well, you can't go do that if they're going to control who does everything about that. And what I want is I want somebody to call me, and I want you to tell me why you think that socialism is a good idea. Now, granted, a utopian society is something that we could all use, right? If we can get rid of hunger, if we can make sure that everybody's educated, if we can give everybody fantastic housing, if we had the ability to make everybody happy, then that would be fantastic. What I would like to see is I would like to see the entire world become more like the United States of America and have capitalism. But the simple fact of the matter is that there are a whole bunch of other people out there that aren't going to let that happen. So let's say the Chinese, right? So the Chinese are not going to become more like America. Russia is not going to become more like America. India is not going to become more like America. So we have all of these opposing forces. We have 320 million people in the United States of America, but there are, how many people are on the planet? Hold on just a second. How many people are on the planet? How many people are on the planet? It's like there's like 1 trillion people. How many people? 4 billion people? There's 4 billion people on the planet? It's absolutely insane when you start thinking about how many people are on the planet. So if we only have 320 million people and we only have control over 320 billion people, how many people are out there that are not under our control? Everybody in South America, everybody that's in Australia, everybody that's in Europe, they're not under our control. It's absolutely insane. If we can get everybody on the same page, that would be a utopian society. But I don't want to go live under somebody else's rule of thumb because they tell me what I can and what I can't say, what I can and cannot do, where I can and cannot work, how I can or cannot innovate. I don't want that for my life. I don't want that for my children. See, we were in the United States of America, we have certain principles in which we operate. One of the biggest things is that we have a representative democracy, that we send people and we elect people to Congress, right? The House and the Senate. We elect the President of the United States. The President of the United States appoints the federal judges. The governors of the state appoint all the state judicial branch, all the judges that are in the states. Those that are not appointed are going to be voted on by the people. That's representative, and they get to speak for you. What happens if we start giving that up? Well, if we start giving it up, that means that we're seceding power from ourselves into other people. Do you really want to put your hands in the hands of other people? That's why we can't have this utopian society, because as soon as you get a utopian society, then that means somebody's going to dictate what you do. And that means that you will have less freedom. And if you have less freedom, well, hey man, that's not cool, right? I just posted something on Facebook about somebody going to jail over calling a transgender person a man. They harassed him and they did a whole bunch of other things, right? But that was somebody being arrested for insulting somebody. And that's malicious communications. Well, here's the thing about malicious communication. Put the children away for just a second. If I call you a dick, right? Well, are you going to prosecute me for malicious communication? And if I write it down, right? If it's not threatening, right? Now all of a sudden anything I say to you can be malicious. It can be libelous. It can be threatening. And all of a sudden now you say, well, you threatened me by calling me a this, or you threatened me by calling me a that. Well, that's what societies that are socialist do. They start labeling you, and all of a sudden they say, well, you're not conforming. Well, what happens if you don't want to conform, right? We already have enough conformity in the world that is. They already tell me all the rules to build a house. They already tell me where I can and can't go. I have to obey all of the laws that they come up with. I mean, we can take my entire living room here and we can stack it up with laws in the United States of America. They have agencies about energy, about communication, about the military, about the police, about borders, about everything is regulated. I have very little freedom left, but guess what? If they start telling me what I can and cannot produce, or how I can use or not use something else, that means that now I'm put in a position where they are a tyrannical government. For example, gas. It was put out in the new Green Deal that they want to get rid of all cars. Really? They want to get rid of all cars in 10 years. They're going to put in high-speed rail. Well, is it going to come to my house? Is it going to come to my neighborhood? Do I have to walk to get to the high-speed rail? And then if I want to go and I want to pop up to Chicago, or if I want to go to Peoria like I was last week, how am I going to get there? Am I going to walk? Am I going to catch a bus? Do I have to go and get on a rail that's going to go to Dallas? It's not practical. It's just not practical. We grew up in a country where we have cars. If we didn't need cars, we wouldn't have cars. They have these great big huge things called cities. But guess what? If you're not inside of a city, all of a sudden now you're out in rural America. What are we going to plow the fields with if we take apart all of our functioning engines? They can't even get an airplane up in the air under battery power right now, right? Some very, very, very expensive, very, very, very experimental things are floating around up there in space. But for the most part, we can't fly an airplane without petroleum. And they want to get rid of it in 10 years. They want to get rid of nuclear in 10 years. I would love to be able to get rid of all carbon emissions, right? I'm not dumb enough to say that the weather changes outside. I mean, of course the weather changes. Of course the climate changes. It's been climbing. It's been going up in temperature and down in temperature and up in temperature and down in temperature. And they say it's got the hockey puck, right? So it's a hockey puck right now, right? So the temperature's like this, and all of a sudden now it's just skyrocketing. It could be us, maybe, right? But I don't know what kind of an impact we're having on it. America puts out between 14 and 17% of the carbon emissions. That means it gets us down to about 85% of the carbon emissions that are in the world that we cannot control. 15% is not even going to make a dent in what the problem is around the world. And all of a sudden they want to say, hey, look here, man, it doesn't matter how much oil and gas you have. We're going to stop selling oil and gas, and we're going to change our entire economy to electric. Where do they think electricity comes from? Well, let me help you. Okay? It comes from coal, primarily, right? All of our cars, we can't change all of our cars to. Where are we going to get the batteries? What are we going to do with the batteries? All of these huge environmental impact things that they're talking about. How are we going to do that? See, they just go, hey, we want to do it, and somebody else will come up with the ideas. Well, who's going to come up with the ideas? If you take away the entire energy sector, right? So if you take away the entire energy sector and you say the government's going to do it, I've seen the government do some stuff. They do some pretty amazing stuff. The United States military is a fantastic example of the government doing something right. But if the United States, and this is not an insult to anybody that I'm about to say, right? If the United States Post Office can provide a better service than UPS, I guarantee that Amazon would be sending everything through the United States Postal Service. I'm just saying they would do that. You want to know why? Because they're smart business people, and they would go, hey, look here, the best deal we can get is through the United States Postal Service, and we're going to use them rather than UPS. They use UPS because UPS is a private company, and they're really good, and they negotiated the deal with them. If they wanted to do something with the United States Postal Service, the United States Postal Service needs to go over to Amazon and go, hey, man, how can we get in on this action? But it's a government agency, right? They're controlled. They lose money every single. They lose billions of dollars every single year, right? There's people are complaining about the Border Patrol, but here's the thing: is the Border Patrol is stretched to the max. They're doing everything they can to keep it out there, and then they say, hey, go build a wall, and then people go, we don't want to build a wall. We want to use technology. Well, guess what? A drone can't actually stop people, right? A drone doesn't stop people. It might tell you where the people are. It might tell you where the hotspots are, but you still need people, and you still need something to go get those people. I'm not saying a wall is a good thing or a bad thing. All I'm saying is a wall is the thing that we might want to consider in some portions of the southern border so that we can do that. It's still going to cost money, and they're like, hey, we're not going to give any money to you to send down there, especially for anything called the wall. That's not compromise. You know what that's called? It's called being hard-headed. It's non-negotiating. You know, their terms are, hey, look here, stop, we're not going to do anything. Well, it's $5 billion, which really is a drop in the bucket. You know, our annual budget's about $4 trillion. $1 trillion of that is which we borrow against ourselves. And I'll get into economics here one of these days, and we'll explain how the economy works and why it works and why banks have money and why it looks like poor people are getting poorer, although the standard of living across the United States and the world is going up. But we're talking about socialism right now. So let's go back to socialism and socialized medicine. I told you there were two things that involve a 100-inch flat screen TV and 8K. You know what the problem is with socialism? If the government is going to give you the things that you need or allow you to work for what you need, everybody's going to want a 100-inch flat screen 8K television. I don't think we can afford that right now, right? Right now, we all go get a job. We all go figure out what we're going to do. We all have our little place in America, and then we go figure out whether we want to spend our money that we earn on a 100-inch flat screen 8K TV. By the way, I don't even know whether they make them. But let's just, but that's what your choice is, right? Are you going to buy a car? Are you going to put food on the table? Are you going to buy new clothes? Are you going to get a guitar? By the way, I got lots of guitars around here. I love guitars. Guitars are awesome, right? But if they're controlling the means of production, that means that they're going to control the output, what goes out. That means that they have to control what goes in, and guess what goes into that? Labor. And then all of a sudden now they're going to have to control the price of labor. And when they control the price of labor, that means that you and I are not going to have a choice, because we're going to have to go do those jobs, because whoever controls the means of production does that. Now, they've cleverly worded this, or it's called democratic socialism. What they want to do is they want to take all the best stuff of capitalism, right? Your innovation. They want to take your ideas. They want to keep you in business, but then they want to tell you how much money of that, how much of that you can keep. Apparently, $10 million is too much for a human being. Doesn't matter how many children you have. What it matters is that $10 million is going to be taxed, and it's going to become $3 million. You're going to tax everything above 10 at 70% rate, and everything below that at probably 50%. So your $10 million is going to become $5 million, and everything about that is going to become, every $10 million is going to become $3 million. We have farms in this country that are worth a lot more than that, and if they're going to tax it at that kind of a rate, all of a sudden now, how are the farmers are going to make it? And I'm not talking about tax rates or anything like that, but what they're talking about is we're going to have democratic socialism, and we're going to tax you at the rate in order to support all of our social programs. Well, I don't know what the number is, but that number has got to be high, because what they're talking about spending is they're talking about spending trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, which means that now they're going to have to take your money, my money, your neighbor's money, everybody else's money. It's not just going to be the millionaires and billionaires. They're going to have to take your money in order to build the high-speed rails. They're going to have to take your money in order to build all these new electric cars that we're supposed to be driving. They're going to take our steak, and they're going to take our steak, and we're not going to be allowed to eat steak. They want to get rid of airplanes. How are we supposed to defend the country without air power? Because I guarantee that China is still working on air power. It's the craziest thing, and I understand the utopian society. I understand why they would like to do a utopian society, but I postulate this. In medicine, they want to have socialized medicine, where they have a single payer that pays for everything. Well, guess what? What happens if everybody in the country wants to get a breast reduction or enlargement? How do you spread that out, right? Because that's a technology now. I elect to go get breast, so somebody's going to make that decision for you, right? So I want to buy somebody a nice set of breasts. So, sorry, this is awkward, right? I want to go do that for a friend or a neighbor or whatever, and all of a sudden now I have to go ask the government if that's allowable? And then if it's allowed for one person, how come my neighbor can't do it, or the somebody else? That's for everything, right? I want to have I want to have plastic surgery. Well, how come, does everybody get plastic surgery? Or is there some type of a government agency that says, yes, you can have plastic surgery and a nice rack, or you can get your feet done or not? See, somebody's going to have to make those decisions. And right now, it's between doctors, insurance companies, and what you think is best for the family. But all of a sudden now you're going to put not democratic, you're going to put a socialistic type of an infrastructure in there, where some bureaucrat determines whether you can get your feet done, whether you can get your facelift, whether you're going to get a new rack. It's the craziest thing. If your neighbor gets a TV, do you get a TV? Because I would like to have a new TV. I would like to have a bigger TV, right? I got a 50-inch flat screen downstairs that I paid an enormous amount of money for, because somebody robbed my house. I had to go get new TVs, and I went out and I said, wow, I would like to have that new 50-inch TV. So I went and got a new 50-inch TV. Took the insurance money that the insurance company gave me after somebody kicked in my back door, stole all my electronics, stole all the jewelry, stole my motorcycle. I settled up with the insurance company, and then I went out and I bought new stuff. Well, guess what? Now all of a sudden, the government is going to say what you can and cannot have. They want to feed everybody. Well, that's awesome, but I'm pretty sure everybody wants steak. The other day they came out with a new Green Deal. It says we're going to provide an income for everybody in the United States that either is below this level or chooses not to work. That came out in the original. I downloaded the original copy, and it was actually in the original copy. That's where they said they were going to get rid of cows, airplanes, and that they were going to give money to everybody. If I choose to have 10 children, that means that the government's going to, and not to work, that means that the government's going to have to pay for me and my 10 children, and without regard, right? Because that's going to become the law. And now all of a sudden, I don't have to work. I've got 11 mouths to feed, and the government's going to give me income in order to do that. So if I'm taking that, who's going to be producing in order to give me that money so I can feed those kids, right? Who's going to pay for my medical care? That's what I want to know. So they can go do this socialist thing. I mean, I'm all for that. But my question is very, very selfish. Do I have to work if you're going to pay me, right? And do I eat dog food or do I eat steak? If my neighbor gets a facelift, can I have one too? I mean, I know I look pretty good, right? But I would like to look better. I'd like to have this pulled up a little bit, like to have this up. I don't need breasts. But guess what? If I wanted a pair, right? Could guys get them? Could girls get them? Right? How does that work? How do they divvy all of this stuff up? And who's going to be the innovators if you control the means of production? And that's what the thing is. Do you want to work? Well, what if you don't want to work? What if you all of a sudden you just pull your back? Oh, I can't work. Right? Some interesting things, right? When the Mayflower came over, they came under what they call the Mayflower Compact. Wait a minute. Stand by. Plymouth colonies. Let's go to Massachusetts, right? The first hometown of America. My cousin Chris lives up in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Hey, Chris, if you're watching. They came over with the idea of a commune, that everybody was going to work and then everybody was going to share equally in the bounty of the new world. Do you know how long that lasted? It lasted 1 or 2 years. And all of a sudden they turned around and they were like, hey, that cat over there is not working and he's getting just as much as everybody else. That actually happened. If you go up to Plymouth Village, Plymouth, it's a little thing that's got the history of Plymouth, Massachusetts, and it's very, very well documented. They took excellent notes when they were going through this, and they did a lot of historical research when they put this little thing called Plymouth something. If you go to Plymouth, Massachusetts, you got to go and find out the Plymouth colony where it is. They have method actors that are there. They have all of the huts. They have the houses. They have the museum displays. It's fantastic. I could go down there and I can talk to them forever, right? Because they're like, hey, look here. Yes, I was the captain of the ship and I was the security person and I was just a handmaiden and I was somebody's daughter. And this is the way that it all went. And what happened to that commune that was Plymouth, Massachusetts? After a couple of years, they were like, listen, man, you can sell your shares. You can keep your shares. Everybody's got shares, but we're going to divide all that stuff up and you're responsible for your own self. That's crazy. You want to know why? Because it didn't work. Because all of a sudden people said, hey, look here, I don't have to work as hard because somebody else is going to go out there and feed me. And I might have to go get some wood every once in a while. But hey, look here, I just have to worry about sitting around and eating, which is awesome. So the question is, if it couldn't work in Plymouth, Massachusetts, when there was a very, very small population, how in the world is it supposed to work for 320 million Americans here? Is our healthcare system the best it can be? No. But we can fix that. I'm not going to discuss how we can fix it today, but the idea is, or to fix it, are plentiful, and we can fix it. I understand socialism is a concept that we all pitch in and we all do right, but I'm telling you right now, flat screen TVs and boob jobs are what's going to destroy that whole thing. If you get it, how come I can't get it? If we're all putting in, do you think that everybody's going to put in and work as hard as you work right now? How do you innovate in that society? And they say, hey, look here, there's some European cultures that are socialist, right? They're not really socialist, though, right? So they've got capitalistic they got, the ideas of capitalism as their means of production. So you can go start a company over there. You can go and hire people. You can go doing a whole bunch of other things. This whole idea that you've got to take from other people in order for you to be rich. What happens if Bill Gates took all of his money and put it in a mason jar in his backyard? It'd be a big mason jar, by the way. It'd be a really, really big man. He'd probably have to use 2 mason jars. But if Bill Gates took all of his money and put it in mason jars in his backyard, that affects your life how? It doesn't. It doesn't really. Let's take all the billionaires' money and burn their money. It doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't fix our $20 trillion debt. If you say that all of a sudden Microsoft is no longer Microsoft and we're going to take all the money, all of the people that work for Microsoft, guess what? How many of them are not going to work for Microsoft anymore because it's not going the way that they thought? Remember, Microsoft started with a couple of people in one garage. That's how they started. And then the company started getting bigger, and they said, hey, look, we got to hire more people. We got to hire. This is innovative. This is good. We got to expand this. And that's how Bill Gates got all of his money. Nothing's free in this world. You think something's free in this world? You think Facebook is free? How in the world is Mark Zuckerberg the one of the richest human beings on the planet? Because it ain't free, right? They're getting you somehow. What you see might be free. How we interact might be free. The fact that I'm using Facebook right now, somebody's going to put an ad on this, and the next thing I know is somebody's going to monetize this, and somebody's going to make money off of this. So I'm just saying, if you think about socialism, think about what you actually get out of the deal. Think about what you're going to have to do yourself to make that possible. Think about how our society benefits in the long term if we stop innovation because our government says, hey, look here, I just want to make Volkswagen Bugs. That's what we're going to do. It's going to be the national car. Everybody's going to drive a VW Bug. Well, that's happened already, right? So the Camaro I have downstairs, or the 2003 Ford F-150 pickup truck that I have downstairs, what are you going to be driving in that kind of a society? Because I know what they're going to tell you you're going to drive in 10 years. They want to take away your car, and they want to put you in a car that they come up with. No more Lamborghinis, no more Ferraris, no more Corvettes, no more Camaros, no more Mustangs. No more of these innovative ideas that all of these companies come up with. They're going to get rid of all that, and they're going to make the cars that they want. Energy. You cannot run your lawnmower anymore because we're going to get rid of all of those carbon emissions, and we're going to give you an electric lawnmower. I don't care whether you got to do those 5 acres with an electric. Oh yeah, where's the electricity going to come from? Yeah, you're going to put solar panels on your house. They're going to put a windmill on your house. How are they going to do that? These are things to think about, right? How do we get from here to where they want to be? Because I sure as heck. We're talking about the Civil War, right? Good versus evil. It's not good versus evil. They have different ideas than we do, right? This is a show about being in the middle. I need somebody to come up and explain to me how we get from here to there, and I want somebody to explain what my life is going to look like in 10 years when you get rid of my car, when you get rid of gas power, when you get rid of all the cows, when you get rid of the basic economy that we have right now so that you can start paying people a minimum income. I was going to talk about socialism anyway, but then all of a sudden the AOC gave me this great big huge billboard. I didn't even read about it. All right, so here, this is hilarious. Somebody goes, hey man, you say that you don't ever watch TV, but obviously you watch TV. How do you know? And I go, well, I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't watch CNN. I don't watch Fox, NBC, CNBC, or any of those shows. I surf the internet, and I find if somebody comes up with something, I go to the website, and they go, well, how do you get your information if you don't ask? And I go, well, I just don't ask people. If I want to know something about the border, I go to the Border Patrol site. If I want to know something about ICE, I go to the ICE site. If I want to know something about Congress, I go to the congressional websites, and I go to the pages of my representatives or my senators, right? I follow along, I pay attention, but I also do my research. And whenever I'm wrong about something and somebody types me and says, hey man, you're wrong about this, I research it and I either withdraw that and I make a retraction of that, or I go, hey man, I got to stick with my guns on this one because, hey, that's the way that it is. So To everybody out there that's watching, thanks a lot. This has been Mickey in the Middle on Socialism. I hope you enjoyed the show today. This is a special edition. I don't know whether we're going to do Tuesdays and Thursday nights anymore, but we are going to have a lot more of these special editions. So thanks a lot for tuning in. I want you to know I love you. I want you to have a fantastic week, and God bless America, and God bless the U.S. of A. Same thing, right? God bless USA. See you later. Take care. All right, off we go. Back to the music.
Sight when she walked through that door, the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen before. Sea green eyes and long blonde hair, cool smooth smile and didn't have care.